Madam Speaker, I think from the outset I'd just like to highlight that in the legislations that we have in the ministry, which are focused on trying to make sure that we have decent work for everybody that's employed and employment growth, all of these legislations, they have one fundamental philosophy that underlies them. And that is that for these things to work, we need, first of all, self-regulation. Companies need to regulate themselves, workers need to regulate themselves for them to do the right thing. And if they're able to do that, then the legislation works and we're able to deliver. So all of these legislations that we have, the Employment Relations Act, the Health and Safety at Work Act, or Compensation Act, the National Employment Center Act, and also regulations such as the wage regulation orders, it requires a great sense of self-regulation. But when this does not work, it is then that the remedial measures kick in, and we have to take some action to help people. And the ministry has set up standards, procedures and processes. We've got these to go through the ISO 9001 standards. We're now moving to the ISO 9001-2015 standards, so that any complaint that is received, anytime we feel that there's non-compliance with what the laws, what the laws state, that there's some action taken to address that. So in the instance, for instance, for our labor standard services, which looks after complaints about overtime pay, all of these things arising out of your contract. If a complaint is registered regarding working conditions, pay and so forth, that is administered by the labor standards, they will go through a number of steps. First of all, if a complaint is registered, you first of all need to find out to make sure that the complaint is valid. If somebody says that he has not been paid, you need to go and check the records. So the staff need to go down, go through the process of collecting the data, checking the company records to make sure that those things are valid, the forms are filled, the investigations are conducted to make sure that the complaints are valid. So far this year, for the labor standards, Madam Speaker, in my ministry from January 2015 to February 2018, in addition to following up on the complaints, the ministry also proactively goes out, identifies places that we should inspect, and we carry out those inspections. So we don't just wait for the complaints to come. We already know that there are certain sectors where there tends to be a propensity for complaints. So once you identify those sectors, you can target inspections, so you can inspect them first so that the complaints don't come. We've already had 11,800 complaints over that 3-year period, from which we recovered about 960,000 that was then paid to the workers in those organizations. Over that same period, 11,800 inspections, we had around 6,913 complaints that were lodged with the ministry, and as a result of all the work that was undertaken by the officers, they were able to recover around $398,000 that was paid out to the workers. If the work that is done by the ministry in liaising with the company does not work, if they find that something is wrong, they are asked, they're given about 30 days to comply with it. If they don't, then they can be fined. And if they don't, if still that doesn't work, then the ministry will take them to the Employment Relations Tribunal, which will look at the case and make a final decision. Well, those are the kinds of things that are done for the labor standards. We also have the same sort of issues for occupational health and safety division, as we were talking about yesterday for occupational health. And I think the Honorable Nico Nawekula had asked for some statistics on non-compliance to the OHS standards. Since this question came up, I thought I just had a look at the stats there. And looking back over the past 3 years, we have seen that the enforcement notices, this means improvement notice, prohibition notice, and penalty notices, we have had in excess of 427 in 2015, around 286 in 2016, and around 172 so far for this year. So all of these, if people complain about OHS issues, then all of these notices come in. The improvement notice, asking the employer, make an improvement in this particular area. And they are given a certain time frame to make that improvement. If they see that there is a breach of OHS standards where the risk is very high, then they put a prohibition notice. We are not allowed to do certain things. So it can be, first of all, an improvement notice, please make an improvement. Or if it's a very serious thing, it can be a prohibition. You can't do this anymore in this particular area. That fails sometimes in very big cases, then you can have penalty notices where fines are imposed ranging from anything from 2,000 to around 20,000. So that has been the program that we've had for the occupational health and services. There has been a focus on delivering these fines. We are now intending to take this a step further, where for the occupational health and safety we are looking at setting up a prosecution service. So there are some companies that are happy to pay the fines. They do something wrong, we fine them, next time they do it again, and they keep on doing the same thing. So for those sorts of organizations, you need to escalate it to another level. So that's why we're now looking to set up a prosecution unit with the intention of prosecuting employers who are repeat offenders for serious breaches, such as serious accidents and workplace fatalities. Once we prosecute employers for this, for serious breach or non-compliance, this will allow the courts to impose much harsher penalties for those that continually do the same thing over and over again, as the court's limit is above $100,000. I think, Madam Speaker, in terms of the issues that we have for workers' compensation, we've had that the constant battle for workers' compensation over the past few years has been the question that always has to be asked. Currently, under the current system, you can only pay workers' compensation if it is proven that if somebody passes away or somebody gets injured or is ill, it has to be proven that that illness or that death is directly related to the work that they do. In other words, you need to find that there is a causal relationship between their work and what happened to them. You need to find whose fault it is. As we've seen yesterday, when we had that ACCF, the movement for third parties moved away from finding whose fault, but just processing the payment. That is now the next process that we are now looking at workers' compensation. To, what's that, fault? No fault. No fault. To move from the current system where we try to determine who's at fault before we process workers' compensation to move to the no-fault scheme. So that will be the next step that we move in order to progress this, to try to stop, to try to make sure. I think the intention is always the same problem that you had in third party. It takes such a long time for the money to be paid. By the time that you get that money, the people that should have received the money, they've already gone into the cycle of poverty and debt and all those problems. So all of these exercises should help us to be able to stop people from going into the pits of despair and the poverty cycle. Thank you, Madam Speaker.